Kallan.
Hello, Georgina. Thank you for having me today.
Fantastic. Welcome to Meet the Team, which is our Forestry Investment Analyst special. So, Kallan, can you give us a bit of a background, where you started and what led you to Tilhill as an analyst?
Yes, absolutely. So I worked as a consultant with one of the big four consultancy firms. I worked with large financial institutions all over the UK, including South Africa. And my role was to help utilise areas of these financial institutions that were underperforming, that probably weren't getting as much revenue for the bank as what they would have liked. And I would have went in, examined their processes, how they actually did things, and then worked with the teams face to face and help them perform to a better standard and actually collect more revenue for these financial institutions. So that's it really in a nutshell. I've worked with public sector clients as well. There was a whole sort of plethora whilst at PwC that I work with. So it was, really enjoyed it. I was all over the world. It was very jet set lifestyle. And after 4 years there, my girlfriend and I planned on taking a sabbatical to New Zealand, but just with the pandemic, unfortunately, it just meant we couldn't get over there. So we chose the next wildest place in the UK, I suppose, which was Fort William. So I went and worked there as a estate manager, just something completely different. I'm from an agricultural background, and I thought I would do something in line with that. Worked there for a year, and I studied in Bath, and this role came up. And this role was in South Wales and covering the Southwest, so thought absolutely perfect. It really suited my financial credentials, but also my interest in natural capital, I suppose. And yeah, here I am in the person and really enjoying it so far. It's work's coming in thick and fast, but really enjoying it.
Fantastic. What is it about natural capital that attracts you?
I think the main thing there is it's a real exciting and up and coming space that a lot of big institutional investors are getting involved in at the moment. So I really thought I had something to offer with Tilhill, having that international experience, having the experience with the financial aspect as well. And I can't stress enough how big a space it is at the moment and how big it is getting with the whole net carbon zero being pushed for 2050. And I also think the potential is just beginning to be realized by institutional investors and private investors, might I add, that it doesn't necessarily just extend to forestry, that every aspect within land now we are looking at as a company, such as peat, which is becoming a really big space as well. So big up and coming space. It's competing with the sort of standard stocks and shares and bonds now, that it really is delivering a good return on investment. And also we can structure it as a point of not only just, I think people tend to think of forestry as a long-term growth income or long-term growth asset, but the real exciting part of it is that you can actually generate income from it as well. So really exciting place to be. I thought I wanted to get involved in it as soon as possible because it's only going to get bigger. And also the institutional investors are really buying into it now as well.
Absolutely. So can you tell us a bit more about what does your day-to-day job role look like, for example, and how do you help clients, for example?
I think starting from the absolute basics, that we would work with our clients to understand their investment objectives. So that would consist of calls, that would just consist of networking, meeting face to face, and understanding really what the client is trying to get from investing within forestry, and really pushing that aspect that it isn't just this sort of one-dimensional investment that you plant trees and you wait 30 years and then you harvest it, that there's carbon there as well to be utilised, and then also thinnings that can happen slightly earlier than just a clear fell. So we would begin with understanding the investment objectives of the client. So my day-to-day job would then be partially that, but also looking at the market and understanding what's actually out there, what is coming to market that can fit the specific needs of my clients. So that would be looking at properties that are coming up, not necessarily always forestry either. We're also looking at agricultural land. We're looking at peatland, which I mentioned earlier, that's a real up and coming space. I would look at the market, and then I would work with clients, sort of suggesting that this would fit your investment aspirations. And then it's really just working with them to make sure that they understand that that property there will fit their needs as such. And then when we are instructed as such, we will produce a investment report, big sort of financial model to put down on paper all the necessary costs, income involved. And yeah, that's it, I suppose, in a nutshell. That in a simplified layman's terms, it would be working with the client to understand, looking at an investment for them, putting together a report, putting together an investment report or model, and then talking them through it. And then if successful, we will obviously go ahead with bidding on the acquisition for them. So that's the front end of it. But I suppose there are lots of aspects such as consultancy work, which I'm currently doing as well with a large UK firm. So it's really exciting stuff. It's just what I asked for.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear.
Good.
So can you tell us about any forestry investment trends that you're seeing at the moment? Like, are there particular more investors doing certain things or asking for certain things?
I think, again, just I've sort of tied every answer together, and I think that the realization that forestry really is a competitive asset to work with stocks, shares, bonds, that it really is sort of beginning to get traction, and institutional investors no longer are just looking at it as offsetting carbon, that we are seeing it as a competitive asset that can generate real income and growth. But also within the green finance space, there's lots of names: natural capital, green finance, and ESG, that the institutional investors are really beginning to see it, the true potential of it. And we were actually having a meeting in Inverness about it as well, that peatland is beginning to be utilised. That peatland before, I suppose, was looked at obviously always as peatland, that it was underutilised. It was just a bit of sort of rough ground that you might get away with some rough grazing on it. But peatland now, considering the price of it, is a good bit lower than what standard forestry ground would be. That this has become a space that you can offset your carbon about, and the big thing to understand, that you're not necessarily planting on it and then sequestering carbon. You're actually stopping carbon being emitted. So peatland's becoming a really big space at the moment as well, and that was really pushed at our meeting, our investment meeting with some of the regions in Inverness a couple of weeks ago, and it was a really sort of up and coming space. And the trend, which I spoke about before as well, is that every aspect within a land parcel now is beginning to be utilised and beginning to be understood what we can do with it. Particularly in Scotland, from what I seen when I was working there, that every aspect within the woodland, such as hydro as well as wind turbine, is being utilised on the estate for extra income. And it was a really good opportunity for me to understand that you're not necessarily just looking at a bit of land for planting trees on. You're actually looking at to see if it's viable for wind turbines, if you're looking to see if it's viable for hydroelectric generators as well. So, and even it was so good that my father and I have got involved in hydroelectric generators as well, because it was something that was always in the background, and it was such an exciting prospect for us that we've got involved in it as well.
So will that be a next step for Tilhill, getting involved in renewables as well?
I think. Sorry, I was taking a sip there. I don't. Renewables now. We don't know what the future holds, but I think what's currently in the crosshairs at the moment is peatland, and also forestry is obviously our bread and butter, but it's understanding what we could do with every asset, every piece of land that's within a land parcel, what we can necessarily do with that there. So who knows what the future necessarily holds, Georgina, but I think what's currently in the crosshairs is peatland.
Kallan, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Well, listen, thank you very much for having me, by the way. I've really enjoyed that there. And yeah, I look forward to speaking to you again.